up, YouTube? Just want to talk to you all about this young Pharaoh and Jay Burner uh, debate.
That's why there's no record of the Phoenicians. That's why there's no record
I just
of the
want
Sea
to
people because they
express my parts with just some questions to ask to both of them about both of what some of what both of them said. All right, man, we're gonna start.
washed it up and they integrated the prisoners of war into their society and classified those people as Egyptians. We are not African. We are Hebrews. We're still enslaved today all around the world. Most of those Phoenicians that escaped captivity went down to Jordan, went into Sudan, and went into Somalia. Like I said, the Phoenicians and the sea people were great mariners. They were excellent at building warships, and it was excellent at being pirates. And you see that same war tactics has trickled down into Somalian society today. Um, Pretty much I connected who are the Phoenicians and how are they Hebrew and and when they was a slave. If you go back to the 19th dynasty, you would pretty much see how all of those pharaohs were Greco-Egyptian pharaohs. They were hybrid pharaohs, Arabs. I'm done for the first round.
Okay, I like that. I'm literally writing down your last. Hold on, let me hit the timer real quick. Damn. Okay, timer pause. Your last thing you said was who are the Phoenicians and how are they Hebrew? Hebrew dot dot dot. All pharaohs were Arabs.
No, in the 19th dynasty.
Okay, all pharaohs were Arabs during 19th dynasty. That's correct?
Yes.
Okay, I got you, bro. During 19th dynasty. Now I'm a actually, even though it's kind of off topic, I like where some of the places you went. So I'm gonna actually during my time address those as well. So let me share my screen so y'all know I ain't, pulling no slick shit. So when I hit the timer, y'all can all see me hit the timer. So can you see my screen, bro?
Yeah.
Okay, Bob, you see the timer, right?
Yep.
Okay. So I'm good. I'm going. Okay. Now, let me just go down the list. You said that Hebrews civilized Egyptians. Now, I have a huge rebuttal to that because even when you say Europe was filled with Hebrews, we have to understand the differentiation in Hebrews. You got three different types of Hebrews. You have the original Hebrew, which actually is a white Jew. It's called
It's a lie.
Orthodox
That is a lie.
Hebrew. Then you have an unorthodox Hebrew, which are the Hebrews who allege that the Hebrew language can be spoken, and this was created in 1881 by Eliezer ben Yehuda, to which they created a language for them to utilize in the
Revised the language or revived a language. They didn't create anything.
nation that they call today Israel, which was not created until I believe 1948. So the Hebrew language has only been spoken today for 100-something years, and so those are the first.
Modern Hebrew language have been spoken for that long. You correct on that, Pharaoh.
First two branches of being a Hebrew. And then you have black Hebrew Israelites who were created by an African. I believe he was from Nigeria.
Correct.
And so when Hebrews say we're not African, the entire black Hebrew movement in America was started by an African.
See, the problem with this is only some Hebrews say that black people are not African. By standard, when you say the word African, that means in this standard, it means it comes from the motherland. Okay. If you look at Israel or ancient Mesopotamia, that is located in what today we call Africa or the motherland. So,
Who was copying off of white people. And so that has to be said. So now
and he was not copying off no white people.
when you say the Hebrews civilized the Egyptians, that would be impossible for two reasons. For one, the Hebrew language comes from Germanic and Yiddish. It's from German and Yiddish combined. If you pull up the Yiddish alphabet and you pull up Hebrew and you pull up the German alphabet, they all look exactly the same.
All right, we heard what he said, right? We're gonna let him keep going, but y'all pay attention to what he said.
Germans and Yiddish people came centuries after Black African Egyptians. So there's no way German and Yiddish people could have civilized the Egyptians and gave them a language that not only to this day they can't decipher, but that they didn't have at the time themselves.
Okay, now listen here. So basically, what he's saying is since modern Hebrew is fairly newer than the civilization he's talking about at hand, which is Egypt, there's no way that they could have been enslaved in Egypt. Well, I'm gonna show y'all that the language he talking about is not the same language that Hebrews speak, as in Black Hebrew Israelites, quote unquote. They speak most speak learned modern Hebrew or a form of Hebrew, but we talk about Lashawar Kadash, and that's a different language than modern Hebrew. For instance, I'm gonna go to modern Hebrew right here, right? When we go to the alphabet, if you look at this alphabet, you can count the characters 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22. That's 22. Okay, this written in cursive. From wherever they got that from. All right, this print. 22, right? When you go to Paleo Hebrew, which is ancient Hebrew, or you know what I'm saying? La Shawan Kadash. If you count this 1, 2, 3, you could count. We could just go down. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22. You see the difference in the language though? If you look here, the characters is different. You look here, Paleo, this the Phoenician scripts, and this is this box. It's a square Hebrew. If you look, it's different. They even classify it as different languages. For instance, when you read up here, the top, modern Hebrew or new Hebrew, you see that? If you keep going, it's the standard form of Hebrew language today spoken. Today, right? Spoken in ancient times. So it was spoken in ancient times before it was spoken today, all right? Hebrew, a member of the Canaanite branch of Semitic flame language families, okay? This it's clear as day that these are two different languages. Modern language is telling you right here, modern Hebrew is different from the Canaanite language that is considered to be Washawan Kadash or Paleo Hebrew. See that? It's a variant of the Phoenician alphabet, the same language that Burner keep talking about. Phoenician. Y'all hear that? But as you see, it's simple. The parents of the Phoenician scripts or the parents of Paleo Hebrew is what? Parent system. Egyptian hieroglyphs. You see that? It's right there. Egyptian hieroglyphs. You can see it clear as day. Right there. Then Paleo Hebrew. So Pharaoh is telling a lie by saying that. How would it be the parent system of the Egyptian hieroglyphs? Why would the parent system be Egyptian hieroglyphs if it was created by white people? Now let's go back here.
The Hebrew language did not exist until 1881 when it was created by Eliezer ben Yehuda. There is no
Why you tell that lie like that, Pharaoh?
ancient vernacular Hebrew language. So the Hebrew
To say it was no ancient vernacular language, but it was clearly spoken. Spoken in ancient times. Hebrew, a member of the Canaanite branch of Semitic language families. You see that? It was spoken before then.
could not have civilized or created anything in Egypt. And when we look for tangible proof of this, the Hebrews don't have no sarcophagus for their dead. They don't have no burial grounds for their dead. The Hebrews don't have no architecture. The Hebrews don't have no temples dedicated to women, because the Egyptians taught that the successor of the throne came through the woman. Hebrews teach that your bloodline go through your father. So
Correct.
it will be
Can't argue with that. Correct.
impossible for the Hebrews to have civilized the Egyptians when
But
they gave the Egyptians.
I don't know about saying the Hebrews civilized the Egyptians. I wouldn't say that at all, but yeah, I wouldn't say that.
When if that's the case, why would they have gave the Egyptians a different teaching from what they teach? And then on top of that, the Hebrews never built one pyramid. So there's no way these Hebrews
Well, Pharaoh don't have no proof of that. He don't know who built the pyramids at all.
civilized all these African Egyptians, and then we can't go to Israel today and find nothing but sand and nothing. And so continuing down further, what you said the pharaohs were Arabs. There has never been an Arabian pharaoh in the history of actual history.
The history of actual history, I don't know what the fuck, but I can't argue whether it's been an Arabian pharaoh or not. I don't really, I ain't gonna argue that. How the fuck do I know if it's been a Arabian pharaoh?
Mummies have been genetically tested and they come back as African. The only pharaoh that we
African.
start to defer from being black, according to Egyptology, is when the Greek/Romans started to invade Egypt.
Okay.
All of the pharaohs were black. Now I'm going to prove to you that all of the pharaohs were black. Now I'm going to go to the point that the Hebrews were never enslaved by the Egyptians. And in doing this, I'm also going to prove that the Hebrews were black. When you're talking about the dynasties of Egypt, the dynasties
We
of
know the
Egypt were
Hebrews was black.
fabricated by the Egyptologist Society in order to fit the 6,000 year time frame of religion. So the Bible starts 6,000 years ago. Okay, the first
There's no
dynasty of Egypt founded in 3200
there's no real proof that the Bible started no 6,000 years ago. Just to clear that up, he can't prove what he just said.
BC by many.
It's a theory,
Allegedly, that's 6,000 years ago.
allegedly.
So now here's the problem.
Use your words right.
250 geologists have confirmed water and sand damage on these temples and pyramids. Now, the specific temple I'm going to go to is the Temple of Ramesses. And the reason I'm going here is because of this. In the Bible, Exodus chapter 1, verse 11, it states that the Hebrews were enslaved by Pharaoh Ramesses and were forced to build these temples and cities. And so here's the thing. The Temple of Ramesses is a 30,000 to 100,000 year old civilization. That takes it over 15,000 years before the Hebrew, aka biblical date of creation is said to have been had. And so here's the thing. How could the Hebrews have been enslaved by the Egyptians and forced to build a city that was already there before Pharaoh Ramesses himself was even there?
Well, my question would be to Pharaoh after that. I just want to know is how the fuck do you prove that any temple was 30 to 100,000 years old? How do you prove that, bro? If you could show me the place where you got that information, I would love to get that same information so I could research it, look it up myself. Y'all giving us facts. Well, spread them bitches out for real. Don't be holding them bitches back. You got some shit. Shit, show the people.
And so this is why this is an important discussion, because Egyptology is a lie, and everything that's feeding off Egyptology is a lie. So when you say that the pharaohs was Arabs, it's impossible for it had to been any other pharaoh that other than black, because there was only black people here 6,000 years ago and beyond. So if all of these temples were erected 30,000 years ago and beyond, there's nobody else who could have erected these temples but black people. And then I'm gonna end on this, and I'm gonna put the ball in your court to answer this question. Not only that, how could the Hebrews have been enslaved by the Egyptians if the temples that they saying they was forced to build was already there? I'm gonna hit stop on the timer and I'm gonna let you answer that question. I'm gonna give it to you one more time before you answer so we have clarity. I'll stop the timer. I'm giving you the question one more time. How could the Hebrews have been forced? How could the Hebrews been enslaved by the Egyptians and been forced to build temples and monuments that were already there? That's the question.
Have you ever heard of a Phoenician princess called Jezebel? Jezebel it had became a princess in the Israel kingdom by marriage. Now she was a worshiper of Baal and worshipped many deities.
And what year was this?
This was about like 600 BC.
So
This
this
is
is,
around the time
but the temples was already there. So the question is,
she helped start the Sumerian Empire, bro.
right? But
So
I'm talking about,
this is what I'm telling you. The temples was already there. The temples already there from Ramses II. Yes, because the Phoenicians from that time, when Ramses II got in there, after let me see what was the name.
I personally feel that now one of these niggas know when them temples got there or when any of that shit got there. Cause however Pharaoh got that date, I guess it was carbon dating. That would be the only way I could think of him getting a date like that or any kind of way of dating objects like that with water corrosion or water damage or the age of a rock. Well, the people that mine them places to get that stone or whatever fucking granite or granolite, whatever they use to mine to build them temples and them pyramids and stuff. Them rocks that they got when they got them had an age on them before they put them in the construction. So therefore, testing the rocks gonna give them an age of how old the rocks is, not the structure. So y'all arguing a dead point at this point, to me personally. But
It was a Tumankun when he became king. He became king because he was a son-in-law of a pharaoh. That pharaoh he didn't have no heir to the throne at that time. The whole breakdown of the Egyptian dynasty became flawed due to foreign influences. Now,
oh shit.
the way the Hebrews were enslaved by the Egyptians were because, like I said, the Phoenicians were Hebrew. The sea people were
what year? What
Hebrew.
year?
They
What
broke
year was
that.
this?
The
What
Right.
year was
sea
this?
people
Oh,
and
this
the
was
Phoenicians
Hold
are
on.
this was
Hebrew.
all through the 18th dynasty. This was through the 18th and the 9th and through the 19th dynasty. In the year 1200, this is when the Egyptians went to war with the Phoenicians. Have you ever heard about that battle when the Egyptians went to war with the Phoenicians and King Ramses II conquered and then Ramses III conquered all of Phoenicia?
Bro,
No, it was
the
it.
question, wait, we want to stay on topic. The topic is, and the question is,
I just answered it
how
for
were the
you.
Hebrews
If he ain't answered it for you, Pharaoh, I just did, man. What's
enslaved by the
next?
Egyptians
The
and
Hebrews was
forced to build structures that were
The
already there?
structures wasn't
Everything that you're
already.
saying,
The structures wasn't already there.
everything that you're saying, whether we want to say it actually happened or not, is outside the time continuum of these buildings and constructs. And so my thing is, once again, in the Bible, because you're a Hebrew,
it was built because this only the time when they raided the Phoenicians. Yes, the Phoenicians had already helped Egypt build their civilization.
And I personally, when Pharaoh read that scripture, I my thought on it is I don't think the King James is perfect in translation. So I mean, mistakes happen. So
And up, they helped them build all of that shit. They didn't invade them until the 18th dynasty. So from the first dynasty all the way to the 18th dynasty, the Phoenicians were helping Egypt build their whole civilization up.
what
They
year?
traded.
Okay, so what year was Egypt founded?
What year was Egypt founded?
Yes, if the Phoenicians helped Egyptians build Egypt, what year did they found Egypt to help them
mm,
build that?
I think
And
they
what
could
year?
have been.
In the
That's
first
not a year.
dynasty.
That's not a
Okay,
year.
now you're aware that the
It's not
first
a year.
dynasty is 3200 BC, right?
Yeah, but that's not a year,
3200
Pharaoh.
BC.
Yes, that is when the
Yes.
first. Okay, so this is what I'm telling you. That's a lie because
But
Egypt. Whoa, whoa, whoa,
listen,
whoa, whoa! 3200 BC from today is roughly 6,000 years ago. So here's the problem: Egypt is a 100,000-year-old civilization.
How do you
So this is what
prove
I'm trying to
that?
get you to understand. How did the Phoenicians help the Egyptians foundate a dynasty that was here
who?
before?
Oh, okay. Who was the first pharaoh? Who was the first pharaoh of Egypt? What was his name?
They say Menes. That's
Menes, and he went by Nemar. That's who I said at the beginning of this, right? He went. His name was no more.
Listen to
No,
what.
no, his minute. Wait, no, listen. You're actually. I'm about to answer your question with
So since you say they say minis, how many pharaohs is it before minis, and what are their names?
what you said. Listen, now there's factual proof that he established a trade agreement with the Phoenicians when he first unified Lower Egypt and Upper Egypt. When they unified it into one, there was a trade agreement established.
What year did he unify Egypt?
In the first dynasty, you can look it up. You can Google it.
It was already here. There was no first dynasty. This is what I'm trying to get you to understand.
But you just said Menes was the
So tell us how you get to there was no first dynasty. Tell us.
first pharaoh.
No, that's what Egyptologists say. I'm saying that
Who
from
was the first pharaoh?
Why would we
Who was
believe
the
you,
first dynasty?
bro?
Who started the first dynasty then?
bro, listen to what I'm telling you, bro. The Egypt was not founded in 3200 BC. There is no first dynasty. That's what Egyptologists tell people.
So
in
what is
order
you
to
gonna tell us?
shrink the history of
We
Egypt
wanna know the
to
history.
fit the Bible. So what I'm saying to you is, how could any of this shit have taken place? How could anybody have unified Upper and Lower Egypt that was a Phoenician? Excuse me. How could the Hebrew
Fucking filibuster questions, bro. You giving us bullshit right now, Pharaoh. You be having some hot shit, but right now, man, it's some filibuster ass shit, dog.
Hebrews have been enslaved by Pharaoh Ramesses if all of this shit was here before all of them?
Straw man arguments.
Even Menes. They say that Pharaoh Menes founded Egypt. What I'm saying is, how could Pharaoh Menes have founded Egypt if Egypt was here 100,000 years before him?
The structures are not that old, dude.
He didn't find Egypt. He unified the lower parts
No,
and upper parts.
they say Egypt was founded in 3200 BC by Pharaoh Menes, bro. That is what is widely taught.
Yes, no, that's what it says. He unified it. It was pharaohs in
No,
Lower Egypt and it was pharaohs in Upper Egypt.
They say he started.
It was. Then what are you going off of? Then if you're not believing Egyptology, what are you basing your information off of then? Because when you get down to the 18th dynasty, like I said,
That's what I want to know, Pharaoh. He asked the right question, but I want you to do a fucking breakdown on where you getting that info from and show us how we can get our hands on it too. That's all I want.
were mixed breeded pharaohs. The whole bloodline was corrupted during the 18th and 19th dynasty. So what are you basing off of? You just pick a part of what dynasty you want to say that you're a part of. What African society are you a part of? Period. You ever know what ethnicity of African you associate with?
Can I answer that?
Yeah, I want to hear that.
Yeah,
That's
go ahead.
Okay. So when you say, what do I associate with? Being a Hebrew is not a genetic orientation.
No, it's not. You're right. It's not.
Are you aware that there's white Hebrews and Spanish Hebrews, correct?
For sure. It's just a language.
Yeah.
Yes, they are. But what I'm telling you is this: the separation between the Hebrew.
Ain't no but.
It's just a language, bro. We get that, Pharaoh.
You know that there are white and Spanish Hebrews. So calling yourself a Hebrew ain't no difference than calling yourself a blood or a crip. It's not a genetic.
Yes, it is. It's a blood. It's a blood. It's different blood. It's Hamitic blood.
You right, Pharaoh. I believe what you just said. Hebrew is just a language. You can't have a Hebrew blood type. Hebrew is a language, and that word. Hebrews wouldn't have called themselves Hebrews either. They would have called themselves something different. Allah Shawakadash word, which is Yasser Allah. We wouldn't have called ourselves no languages like that, like no modern shit like Hebrew, or we wouldn't have used that word. It wouldn't even exist.
White Hebrew, bro. How can it be if white people, according to the Bible, okay, is descendants of Esau and they wicked? How can it be a white descendant of Moses?
I personally don't believe that white people is Esau. Me personally, I don't have no valid proof to say he is or say he ain't, but I personally don't believe that a parent of two dark skins could give birth to a baby that's a different color than the other one.
How can it be a white Hebrew? How can it be a
I just can't see it.
Spanish? How can it be a Spanish Hebrew? Wasn't no Spanish people back then, but it's Spanish people on the corner dressed up like Hebrews
Yeah, that goes back to the Rosicrucians and how they build up these group of people, paid them to do a certain task, and that's just how they work, bro. At the end of the day, ain't nothing you can do about that.
Read it from the book. And so this is the thing.
Spanish people are black people. This comes from the tribe of Issachar.
It's black Spanish people. It's people that's black that speak Spanish, but ain't no such thing as no motherfucking black Spanish person.
No,
Yeah, yeah. Oh, Mexicans are black people. What are you
no,
talking
they
about,
not.
bro?
No, they
Are
not.
you serious? That's how you know your information is limited, and you going off of black knowledge, and you going off
Tell
of
me
some
genetic. Listen,
billion.
tell me
Oh
genetic.
wow,
Tell me genetic.
wow,
Listen, tell me.
wow,
I'm gonna give you a
wow.
chance.
Mexicans are not. They're not described from a tribe of Issachar. So the Mayans and the Aztecs are Hebrews.
Are you telling me right now? Are you telling me right now that Hebrews from Israel, some magical way, came way over to North America and Central America and built these goddamn pyramids and then changed their name to Mayans and Olmec? Why wouldn't they just keep calling themselves Hebrews?
Well, I personally don't think they changed their names to Mayans and Olmecs. I think that Mayans and Olmecs ain't even part of their culture. I don't know much about their culture because I never really studied their culture, so I don't like speaking on stuff I don't know too much about. So I'm gonna leave the Mayans and shit out of this shit for me and let y'all deal with that.
They were Hebrews. They were Issachars before they was even Mayans. When Edomites came over there and to Mexico, yes, they changed it down. They made when they first washed it down, it was called a Melitique. And then when they washed it, when Spain came over there again, and they washed them out again, they made a Mexican. A Mexican is nothing but pretty much a European mixed with a Aboriginal.
I could
Okay.
agree with
And
that.
so let me ask you a question.
So
Do
there's not Afro Latinos that have our same blood that trace back to the E1B1A
Of course
bloodline.
it is. Of
is
course
is
it
a
is.
Latino or a Latin person or a Spanish person a race, or is it a language?
It's a language.
Can you be Spanish?
No, I just said that.
No.
That
No.
the old Latin and the older Latin and the Shaic version of it was changed up because they couldn't pronounce the words that we was pronouncing. Just like you said that Hebrew was a made up white man's language. No,
That's definitely not true. So I don't care about him saying Hebrew was a made up white man language.
they took our shit and wrote it in a way that they could pronounce it in a way that they could give it to their people. They stole
Okay, okay.
our.
Go ahead. Keep talking. I'm gonna just take some notes. Go
Yeah,
ahead.
just take notes, bro. Because at the end of the day, you saying that a Mexican wasn't black. You think that what happens when a black person mates with a white person right now? Yes, they make a hybrid race, like you said, Creole. That ain't nothing but French mixed with a Negro. Just the same concept with the Hispanic and the Afro Asian. It's the same concept, bro. The Hebrews spread it out into Asia, and that's where the Sambo come in. Buddha was black until they whitewashed him down. The original name of Buddha was Sambo, and he was a Hebrew that escaped persecution.
I don't know. I don't know much about Buddha, but I do know a little about. I heard a little bit about Sambo. Uh, I don't know. I never heard nobody put them two as the same people, but that'd be something I'll have to look into and definitely check out. That's some new shit right there that I ain't heard. I don't know nothing about that one either.
So to say that Mexicans, that Afro Asians, they don't have black. Man, come on, bro. You lost. You just stuck on this African mindset, and you believe you pick one dynasty to go off of, and you just said that many. Oh, that's Egyptology. So what do you go off of? You just hop up in the middle and say, okay, I picked this dynasty. This is what I'm about to go off of. No, it doesn't work like that.
I didn't pick a dynasty to go off of, and you
I ain't see
totally
you do that
missed what I
either.
said, and you still did not answer the
But
question.
I did.
But you can do what you want to do until your time runs out. Once again, I'm gonna read. It's 7 minutes left on the clock, if you want it or not. Once again, I'm gonna reiterate my question. My question was, how could the Hebrews have been enslaved by the Egyptians and been forced to
Easy.
build the Temple of Ramesses if the Temple of Ramesses was here a
The
minimum
temple
of
was not
30,000
that
years
old.
ago before that time period?
The
That is the
the
question.
the temple is not that old.
And I just explained it. Like you
Okay.
said, minis. Minis in Egyptology, like I said, he established this trade agreement with the Phoenicians between the Sinai Mountains. They built their warships they traded the best wood with them, and they traded purple dye with them. They traded red dye with them, and pretty much made their garments for their high ranking priests. Before Ramses even came into play, they were they were already trading with these Phoenicians. When Ramses got into there, they invaded the Phoenicians and enslaved them. That's how the Egyptians enslaved them. The whole 19th dynasty enslaved Hebrews, bro. What are you talking about? Most of them fled to Jordan, they fled to Sudan, and they fled to Somalia. You actually, I just answered the question. I don't know how much more you want me to explain to it. Who are the Hebrews? The Hebrews are the Phoenicians, and that's factual proof. Anybody talking in the comments after this, go look up the Phoenicians and go look up the Sea People, which is modern day northern Israel, Lebanon, and Syria.
Okay.
Those were the Hebrews. When Ramsey went in there, he washed up all their information. That's why Ramsey the Great civilization was the best, because he stole Phoenician information, he stole Phoenician astrology.
All right. I'm with it. Listen, when you done, just let me know. If not, you can rock. You still got time on the clock.
No, I mean you can go, we can go do it, then go back and forth. But you asked me a question of how did the Egyptians enslave the Hebrews at the rise of Egypt, when it was Lower Egypt and it was Upper Egypt.
Okay.
The Phoenicians helped build up the civilization, and then in the 18th dynasty, they invaded that same country that was helping them out and building up their civilization,
Or no country, you say like a
which were the
people.
Hebrews. They took them through the Sinai Mountains back into Egypt and enslaved them. They wasn't no servants. They wasn't no none of that. They were prisoners of war and slaves. Yes, all that shit was built because they helped them build it through because they did trade agreements. After that, they wasn't getting no compensation in return for their deeds and their knowledge and their wisdom. They
All
were
right.
enslaved. You going around what I'm trying to tell you. You just using your followers and your comments
Bro, I'm
in
not.
order
I'm
to
not even
and
bro.
void my
Damn.
answer. No, no, listen, listen,
Damn.
listen. Your
Hold
question is pure this.
on. How he using his followers? Yo. Yo, YP, bro. Yo, what's wrong with that, man? Yo. I don't follow YP, dog. I watch him, but I'm not on Instagram or no Facebook like that. But that nigga just tried to say he was he was flu gaming.
I don't know what are you doing, what kind of psycho shit you doing, but
This
you're
is
trying to say
psycho.
the whole thing was,
Losing his mind.
did the Egyptians enslave the Hebrews? I said that the Phoenicians were Hebrew. They had a trade agreement with Lower Egypt and Upper Egypt
I
before
heard
Egypt
you
wasn't
say
even
that, bro.
considered a whole country. After that trade agreement was abolished in the 18th and 19th dynasty, they enslaved those same people that helped them build up their dynasty. Those were the Hebrews, were the Phoenicians. On the other side of the Sinai Mountains, that small peninsula that separates
Sinai
Egypt from
Mountains.
what's considered today as modern Middle East. Yes, they enslaved those people to the right. You say it's not a difference in blood. It's the same. No, Africans are of Hamitic and Canaanite blood.
Oh shit. He just killed himself. Did he? I think he did. Yeah, I know I got on Pharaoh about some of the lies he's saying, but I'm about to get on this nigga. Cause this nigga live right now. He just said 5, 10 minutes ago, or maybe 35 minutes ago, that the Sea People or the Phoenicians, right, were not Africans. But then he just said that Hebrews go back to African and Canaanite. I mean that Hebrews don't go back to African and Canaanite blood. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go back. I don't want to put words in his mouth. I'm gonna go back and hear what he said again one more time, so I can know what he said. You feel me?
They had a trade agreement with Lower Egypt and Upper Egypt before Egypt wasn't even considered a whole country. After that trade agreement was abolished in the 18th and 19th dynasty, they enslaved those same people that helped them build up their dynasty. Those were the Hebrews, were the Phoenicians. On the other side of the Sinai Mountains, that small peninsula that separates Egypt from the what's considered today as modern Middle East. Yes, they enslaved those people to the right. You say it's not a difference in blood, it's the same. No.
You say it's not a different in blood, it's the same. No, he's saying Hebrews do not got the same blood as Canaanites. Hebrews don't got the same blood as Canaanites and Africans. Okay, this what I mean by this man lost his mind. Okay, well you go, if we go to, I can go to modern Hebrew, I can go to Paleo, I'll just go to modern. When you look at these languages, these niggas keep talking about, right? You say the word Hebrew, Canaanite, you see they all from the same language family. Y'all see that? All right here. Same language group. Same language group. And then when you go back to Paleo Hebrew, you know what else in that language group? The parent systems. This is in that same language group. Egypt hieroglyphs is in the same language group as Paleo Hebrew. They all come from one language group, and that language group is called this right here, the Afro-Asiatic language group. Okay, I'm clicking this so we can get some information on this group, this Afro-Asiatic group. Okay, all right. Is a large language family of about 300 languages. It includes languages spoken predominantly in West Africa, North Africa, and the Horn of Africa. Okay, these the same West Asia, North Africa, and the Horn of Africa. You see Africa, Africa, Africa. In modern terms, right? Africa. That is considered for this right here. This is Africa. You see that? In modern terms. So to say that these people who y'all keep calling Hebrews, quote unquote, uh, which I could call Canaanites if I want to. You want to call them Hebrews, I want to call them Canaanites. And you're going to get mad and say they're not Canaanites, but whatever, okay? Let's go down. See this language? Hebrew is part of that, right? And that's modern and ancient Hebrew, not just one. Modern Hebrew comes from the same language. It just was twisted uh by the people you said, the white people, or the Yiddish. It was flipped. They added points to make it fit their language, the Germans and the Yiddish. So yeah, but when you go down, you can see it's all part of the same thing, man. Afro-Asiatic language family is including the following branches. Watch that. Beaver. What is that? What is beaver, huh? You see that? So there it go. Yeah. See that? See this language? Another one. Includes a lot. You see Nigeria, southern Nigeria. Egyptian, right? That's in the same language group. Same language group. And then Shemitic, okay? This is the language group that Hebrew fall under, okay? And Paleo Hebrew fall under. But now that y'all see these are all the same family of groups of people, this is the same people. People argue stupid points all the time, but look, it's clear to say that all these families are related to one another. They all come from one another. It's clear to see. It's clear. It's not rocket science. They all come from the same people. See this? The same people with these same language groups from these same areas. And you know who tell y'all this? Y'all don't pay attention to. You know what I'm saying? Especially when you calling yourself a Hebrew, but you get mad at these people for telling you this. The proof about the Hebrew Canaanite origin. If you're an Israelite, you're a Canaanite, and that's a fact. And it's right here. It's clear to see. You get Hebrew from the Canaanite languages, them same scrolls, them what you keep saying, Phoenician scrolls, the same. It's the same thing, man. Same people, man. Same people. And I could prove this even more. Just just to get even more particular. Uh Jacob, father, was what y'all call Hebrew, which is a language, not a people. But okay, Hebrew. But Jacob's father was a Canaanite. And a lot of people gonna look at me like, damn, this nigga crazy. This nigga crazy as fuck. This nigga lost his mind. But I think let me see if I can remember. Ezekiel. Oh, there you go. I think it's right here. Is it 16 and 3? Oh, what's this? Here we go. It's right here. It's already there. Oh, what does this say? Let's go to King James, right? And say, "Thus saith the Lord," right? This Yahweh talking. We ain't gonna play around with y'all, man. This Yahweh. This Yahweh. Thus saith the Lord God unto Jerusalem, thy birth and thy nativity is the land of Canaan. Thy father the Amorite, Canaanite, Amorite, Canaanite. We're gonna remember that word, Amorite, right? Let's copy it. Let's copy it. So we could do this. And thy mother was a Hittite. Hittite. You see that? You see that, right? Uh and that's just that simple, man. Here go another one. Look, Ezekiel 16:45. Jacob's parents was Canaanites, man. You dudes are goofies, man. And I'm gonna prove this. Jacob's parents was African, Canaanite. Period. Let's go to King James. Thou art thy mother's daughter, that loathing her husband and her children, and thou art thy sister's sister. Thou art the sister of thy sister, which loatheth their husband and their children. Your mother was a Hittite, and your father was an Amorite. All right, y'all see that? I hope y'all see that. Let's look up this word. Let's see what let's see what Isaac was. Let's see what Isaac was. What? Okay, there go them same people for some reason. Living in Mesopotamia, Palestine, Syria. I mean, it's the same group of people for some reason, okay? Let's go. It's the same people. That's the problem with people. Dumb as hell. Just arguing dumb points, man. Same people. What Semitic speaking people, right? Same people. Mesopotamia. Okay? Babylon. These are the same people. Inhabitants of Canaan. Okay? It's just that simple. It's just that simple, man. Euphrates. West of the Euphrates. Mesopotamia. It's this simple. It's not that hard for y'all to see. You know what I'm saying? It's not. When you look up the word Amorite, it goes back to Canaan. When you look up Hebrew, it goes back to Canaan. You could look this up, and it's like, as, as far as I'm concerned, people just throw this, sweep it under the rug, especially Hebrews, so-called Hebrews. They push this under the rug. Why? Why y'all pushing this, right? Descendant of Canaan, right? The son of Ham, okay? These are a group of people, right? But it's a land, right? Semitic Amorites are also mentioned in the Bible as inhabitants of Canaan. Y'all see that? Isaac was what? What was Isaac? A Canaanite, okay? All right. So stop with the lies, Burner. Y'all, this shit foolishness. Y'all can see that clear as day. Arguing who is who is. Y'all ain't there. Skipping blatant information. Show that Canaan, these all go to the same people. When you go back to Canaan, you trace Canaan back. You trace back Mesopotamia. You trace back the Sea people or the Phoenicians that go back to Egypt. And then it goes back to where? To Samaria. You see that? This is where it is. This is where it ends. It's just retarded, man. So now at
Africans
this
are of
point,
Hamitic and Canaanite blood.
so he just said Africans are of Hamitic and Canaanite blood, so that makes the children of Israel Africans. Clear as day. I don't care what no one else says. If we go by Israel doctrine, right? If we go, your father, you are who your fathers are, right? If your father was a fucking Canaanite, that would make you a Canaanite. So since Jacob was a Canaanite through his father being a Canaanite, okay? Yeah, you could be Israel due to being a descendant of Jacob, but what Jacob is a descendant of who? Isaac and his father. And his father was what? A Canaanite. Okay? It's that simple.
Hebrew blood, where we're positioned at a higher elevation. This is
No.
all coordinates, bruh. 33 degrees parallel. We on 33 degrees north.
There's a problem with what this man's saying, and I really want to be very firm on this. I want to be very firm on this, man. This man
Stay in Compton.
Can I
I'm
respond?
is tweaking out.
in
Can I
Compton.
respond? Can I respond?
Go back upstairs and go
Can I
lay down.
respond?
It's dead. You supposed to be asleep. Man, go upstairs. You didn't cut it on my Xbox. Cut it on your Xbox? Yeah. I don't do that no more. Here, don't press that TV no more. Go upstairs.
Okay, let me click my timer on. My timer is on. Okay, now let me help navigate you here.
This is why watching debates with people with agendas be so so much conflict, cause people ain't gone really not trying to understand each other nor hear each other out, and then people make stances like, oh, something is 300,000 years old, and ain't even willing to show you the valid proof to back up his claims, and then he makes substantial saying, Burnham gonna make a statement saying Canaanites are and Africans and Hebrews are not one and the same. Well, that's stupid as fuck and real dumb. Okay, that's just dumb. So at this point, it's like, damn man, what the fuck? Come on, bro. Come on, man.
Okay,
Come on.
now,
Come on.
in order for the Hebrews to have been enslaved by the Egyptians,
And then one of these niggas proved the point of whether the fucking Hebrews was enslaved or not. I'm gonna keep listening because it's just, it's just, it's
it would
weak.
have to be
It's
during
weak.
the rule of Pharaoh Ramesses. This is not according to me. This is according to y'all. This is according to y'all book. Now I'm going to read the verse. Exodus chapter 1, verse 11. King James Bible states, therefore, they did set over them taskmasters to afflict them with their burdens, and they built for Pharaoh treasure cities, Pithom and Ramesses. And so this, I'm not making this shit up. This is what y'all teach. And so here's the question once again. How could the
I already answered it.
Hebrews have been enslaved by Pharaoh Ramesses and been forced to be?
This question It's just a question that's stacked. It's like a question that you ask and to get an answer to based on your logic, Pharaoh. At this point, your logic is that these cities are and these temples are this age that's just not valid. You don't got no proof to say they are the age. So therefore, at this point, you keep asking this question. Of course, you can't answer it because you can't even answer it because you don't even know if the temples are the age they are just based off the fact that you grading them with fucking carbon dating, which is just not valid. And I ain't about to go through no fucking big thing on carbon dating, but if you want to, you could look up carbon dating yourself. And just like I would do when these niggas be talking, I look up what these niggas be saying, cause these niggas be, you gotta watch motherfuckers. You could look up carbon dating yourself, and you will see that it's just not accurate. The people they self tell you it's just a guess. It's just not accurate. There's no way it could be proven to be true.
Pharaoh Ramesses when the city of Ramesses is a 30,000-year-old temple. This story is alleged to have taken place 4 to 6,000 years ago, maximum. This temple is a 3,000-year-old city, and if you want to really be specific, the story is only 3,000 years old. So the story does not match the age of the actual buildings. Let me give you an example. If you come in my house and you say, young Pharaoh put up this damn background yesterday, but then scientifically they test this background.
And that sounds dumb as hell because they can't scientifically test that background and see how old it is. A dumbass analogy, Pharaoh. Come on, bro. You gotta do better than that.
And they see that this shit been up here for 3 years. That means what I told you was a lie. So that is why I'm saying the Hebrews were never enslaved by the Egyptians, because according to the Hebrews' own teachings, the cities that they were forced to build were there before they were even.
No, the Hebrews don't teach that, nigga. You teach that. You gonna lie like that according to the Hebrews. Nigga, don't ever lie. Let's listen to how a nigga with a forked tongue speak. Listen to these men. How you gonna say that, bro? It could have been
4 to 6.
My bad. It could have been a slip of the tongue, bro. But damn, come on, bro. Don't just lie on the book like that. It never gave you no date. Like you putting these dates on there.
Y'all, this is according to y'all book. Now I'm gonna read the verse.
Listen to this. Listen to him.
Exodus chapter 1, verse 11. King James Bible states, therefore they did set over them taskmasters to afflict them with their burdens, and they built for Pharaoh treasure cities, Pithom and Ramesses.
Didn't hear no date. Listen to what he said though. He gonna lie.
And so this, I'm not making this shit up. This is what y'all teach. And so here's the question once again. How could the Hebrews have been enslaved by Pharaoh Ramesses and been forced to build Pharaoh Ramesses when the city of Ramesses is a 30,000-year-old temple?
Based on what you saying.
This story is alleged to have taken place 4 to 6,000 years ago, maximum. This temple is a 3,000-year-old city, and if you want to really be specific, the story is only 3,000 years old. So the story.
So which one is 3,000 and which one? You got me so fucking confused.
Does not match the age of the actual buildings. Let me give you an example. If you come in my house and you say, young Pharaoh, cities that they were forced to build were there before they were even there, and were there before the Pharaoh who allegedly enslaved them was even there.
You can't prove that.
And so that story is a
prove it to us.
Lie. Now let me continue.
According to Egyptology, right?
According to facts.
No. What's facts? Egyptology, right? What is your facts? Egyptology? No. You said that according to RT. What is real then? You said like.
Okay, let me reiterate it one more time. If you go to Egypt,
you right,
and you chip off a piece of the Temple of Ramesses, and you take it to a geologist, or you take
Egyptology,
or a geologist, science. Listen, and you take it to a geologist, and you take a piece of this rock, or this granite, or this stone from the Temple of Ramesses, and you go to a science lab and you test it water.
You heard what he said? He used the same fucking shit that I used, which I got that from Shaka, to be honest. My theory where he was talking about how old the rocks was and shit. Shaka mentioned how talking about the rocks that was used to build the pyramids, and I listened to him, heard what he said and shit. That's why I said what I said. Like the rocks was already a certain age. That's just, I answer Shaka shit the same way. The rocks was already a certain age when they mined it before they even put it on the structure. So the rocks are actually older than the structure based on the density or however they tested in carbon dating to see how old the rocks is. But the rocks was old prior to being brought and put on the structure. So unlike the example that Pharaoh just gave, I'm gonna give y'all a different example. Let's say I take a rock and I take that rock and just beat it, keep beating it till it turn into gravel, and lay it down on the ground. Years pass by, thousands of years pass by, and it turned into dust and then turned in form. That rock already a certain age from its forming date. You get what I'm saying? So at that point, you can't date a rock for a structure, because the rock become part of my driveway now. But my driveway got put here fucking only a couple years ago. But the rock is old as fuck. The rock that I broke down and put it into a fucking, it's old as hell. Okay, that was a fucked up analogy too, though.
Damage, sand
But it was better than fucking Pharaoh shit, cause this shit ain't even no damn rock. You can't even touch this shit.
damage, carbon dating, etc. They're going to tell you this is a 30,000-year-old object.
No, the fuck they ain't.
And so
I could prove that. We gonna look up carbon dating. I'm gonna look it up with you guys. I might fuck out enough time.
the age of the object and the construct of the object does not match the time frame that the story say that the object was built. So the Hebrews could have never been enslaved by the Egyptians, and they could have never been forced to build those temples because the temples were already there.
Yeah, he keeps saying something that he himself cannot prove.
Now let me go down the list.
Because the Phoenicians helped them. Because the Phoenicians helped them.
There,
The
no,
temple.
listen, the Phoenician alphabet. Because I'm finna answer your question. Because
when was the pyramids of Giza? When was the pyramids of Giza built? Listen,
listen, bro, I got the Phoenician alphabet right here. Let me answer it. My time has not run out yet.
What about the
I'm
Phoenician
finished. I got it right here in my notes. The Phoenician alphabet came out around 1200 BC. That's roughly 30,000 years ago. The first alphabet system, factually documented, is known as a hieroglyph.
Correct. I agree.
Or the hieroglyphics. The definition of the word hieroglyphics means undeciphered. Now, the reason that the hieroglyphics are undeciphered is because they're ideograms.
Correct. I agree.
AKA a grammatical image that conveys an idea. So the definition of an ideogram is an image depicting an idea void of grammatical text, okay, or vernacular expression.
Correct, Pharaoh, correct.
So with that being said, the Phoenician alphabet is grammatical text of vernacular expression void of an idea. Let me give you an example. The letter A does not give you an idea when you see it. And it's
correct.
It's a form of grammatical text. If you see the Kepler beetle in Egypt, it's not a grammatical text. You can't speak it, but it gives you an idea. So another form of an ideogram will be a gang sign. If you go to a certain neighborhood and you see a pitchfork, there's no letter in the alphabet for pitchfork, but if you associate it with that gang, you know what that means. And so the ideograms, aka hieroglyphics, are 100,000 years older than the Phoenician alphabet.
Correct.
So once again, the Phoenician alphabet or the Phoenicians could have never civilized the Egyptians because.
And I ain't saying they did civilize shit, but the argument is, was they enslaved by the Egyptians?
Because their writing system not only lacks
Egyptian and them, they are the same people, but they was enslaved by their own brothers, bro.
Mental and spiritual essence. It's 100,000 years after the Egyptians were already writing on paper.
And I ain't gonna say I don't know about these dates that Pharaoh keep talking about either, cause he throwing some wild ass numbers out there on the guys. He throwing some crazy ass numbers out there.
Papyrus with hieroglyphics. And so now we coming down to Mexicans are you said Mexicans are black. Mexicans are not black. A Mexican person is a Mongoloid, aka a Chinese person, a white person, aka a Spaniard, and a mulatto. A Mexican person is not black. Now, if you want me to pull it up, I will. But I said I'm not going. We're not doing no PowerPoints. I'm not on Google or none of that. I'm coming right off the dome, and I just got my notepad. But if you want me to, I'll pull it up.
Oh, so that's why you've been fucking up a little bit, G.
Genetically,
What?
genetically speaking, a Mexican is not a black person. A Mexican.
Yeah, I ain't gonna argue. I never arguing. They got black Mexicans, so I can't argue that. That's like a dumb argument.
Is a mongoloid and caucasoid humanoid. If you look at
I personally know black Mexicans, and I know Mexicans that's not like I know Afro Mexicans. Like
a Mexican man and you pull up a picture of a Chinese man, they're gonna look the same. Mexican people are not black.
I'm not gonna say all Mexican people are black. No,
this is genetic. This is facts. Their haplogroup does not match ours.
correct.
So this is my issue with the Hebrew doctrine. Hebrews jump on people culture and then just say they Hebrews. Like you can't just come to America, look at the Aztecs and the Mayans, and then say, oh, they Hebrews. Because even when we say Mexicans, right? Mexicans speak Spanish. They speak Spanish because Sir Francis Drake, who was a Caucasian man, considered a Spaniard. The language Spanish comes from Italy, and it was used in witchcraft. That is what the Spanish language was created for. So when Queen
For old Latin.
exactly.
And I say it, and that's when Hebrews ran Europe. And Hebrews that ran Europe at that time. Hebrews ran Spain at that time. What do you?
Has nothing to do with black people. And so that's when Sir Francis Drake.
Now, Phil, when you talk about these languages, so they got nothing to do with black people. Mark that you're correct. Correct again, Imundo. Spanish, all the mother language, Latin, they're all Indo-European language groups. Okay, that's a different language group than the language group which I just showed you, which is the Afro-Asiatic, which your hieroglyphs fall under, and his Phoenician scripts and Hebrew, they all fall under the same family group. But the languages that y'all are talking about now, they're actually part of the Indo-European family group, and you're correct, Pharaoh.
Circumnavigated the world and enslaved black people in South America and Central America. This is how black people became Mexicans, the same way black people became mulattoes, through rape and through slavery. So the same way that me and you speak English, because we were conquered by Englishmen, before the Englishmen conquered us, the Spaniards or the Spanishmen conquered. And so that is how some black people speak Spanish. So when we're talking about Afro-Latinos,
Correct.
or we're talking about Hispanic people, period, their entire culture was given to them through conquest, just like ours was. And so being Spanish or being Hispanic or being Mexican or being Dominican is not a genetic ethnicity. It's a linguistic subscription.
Just like
you
Hebrew.
Can't be Spanish. It's a language.
Just like Hebrew.
You can't be none of that. Genetically, we are genetically, black people are descendants of the mitochondrial Eve gene. We don't have any Neanderthal. All non-black people are only 93% human beings, 7% Neanderthal. So just because
that's some dope ass information, Pharaoh. When you drop that shit be crazy to me. I'll be like, damn, that shit is insane. That shit hard. You crushing it with that shit. But you swear to God, your ass ain't no racist.
Because Hebrews are trying to substantiate their premise does not give Hebrews an excuse to start taking other people's cultures under the wing.
And I agree with that. I agree with that 100%.
And subscribing them to Hebrew. Israel is way over there on the other side of the country. How the hell is people in Central America Hebrews? How the hell is people in Mexico Hebrews? How the hell
Because they fled persecution. Because they fled persecution, bruh. You pretty much
do you know
what
how
how you're
People
thinking is how the
definitely,
white man how you think of
people
black people better
definitely
than
could say
everybody, and
that.
that
That's
was a
how.
problem. That
no,
was our
I never
That's how
said that.
people
downfall.
rock.
Don't
Yeah,
put
yeah,
words in
yeah,
my
yes,
mouth.
it is. Yes, it is.
Don't
Because
put words
because
in my mouth.
it's proven fact
I
that
don't
the
know, dog.
Mayans
Do not put words in
the
my mouth.
Mayans, the Incas, and the Aztecs trace back to Hebrew blood. In the Bible, their tribe was called the Issachar. Their cultures even Egyptian. Their cultures even resemble Egyptian practices. The Day of the Dead is an
I got
Egyptian
6
practice.
minutes left, bro. I got 6 minutes
Oh, my
left.
fault. Oh, go.
You're right. You're right. Let me pull this up.
Mm.
Let me pull this up. Let me pull this up. I got 5 minutes to do this. I'm pulling up a map of Africa to show you something from a realistic point of view. We got to be realistic.
Man, I don't
We
know
got to be
how.
realistic here.
Oh,
We got to
this
be
shit.
realistic.
What the fuck is
Okay.
your map got to do with
Let's pull
anything?
up.
I would have did mine too.
Man, yours what?
Geographically gives me a sense of pride. It gives me a sense of strength. That don't make it real. It does not make it real. So just because the Bible say it, just because teachers in school say it, don't make it real. And so what I'm bringing forth is, let me see how much time I got left. All right, I got 2 minutes. We're 1:59 now. What I'm saying is, we got to come with the facts. We got to come with the facts. My thing is, I'm coming
I'm
with
gonna come with the
facts
facts.
that can be researched scientifically,
Uh-uh.
geographical measurements that need to be taken into consideration.
Why the fuck do we give a fuck about your geographical measurements when y'all supposed to be arguing whether the fuck it was Hebrews enslaved in fucking Egypt? Fuck out of here with that fucking African ass map. Talking about African. I don't want to hear that shit, man. Come on, let's get to the fucking bottom of this shit. Let's do this shit.
Population, uh, population, uh, numbers that need to be punched in, genetic variable factors that need to be punched in, because there are white Hebrews and there are Spanish Hebrews,
Facts.
as you confirmed. And so with that being said, I got a minute 20 left. With that being said, that right there throws a monkey wrench in the game. Because if Hebrews are the original black people,
You see, it throw a monkey wrench in the game because y'all based in everything off of languages. Period. That's where the fucking barrier at. Languages. These are all part of the same family. Y'all putting separation on languages instead of being honest and showing that these languages are all brethren or mother to father. They all spread it down, except for the Indo-European language groups. I'm talking about the Afro-Asiatic language groups. They're the same. It's all one and the same. Hieroglyphs, Sumerian tab. They all one and the same. They just start evolving. That's what the problem is. Y'all ain't supposed to be arguing linguistics though. Y'all supposed to be arguing was not the Hebrews, was Yashar Allah enslaved in Israel. Like that's what y'all supposed to be arguing.
how did people who allegedly knocked the Hebrews off their throne become Hebrews?
They ain't
That's
knock
just
them
like how
off
the
they
Nation of Islam say the white man is.
and they ain't knock them off their throne, man. I'm gonna make this clear for all Israelites to understand. Egypt predates Israel. Period. We understand that. Clear as day. There's no reason to argue that. That's not an argument. We already passed that because even when you look up the languages, you see that you know what I'm saying. The Sumerian tablets is older than Hebrew, and the Phoenician script is older than Hebrew, and all of them. The parents group to those is the hieroglyphs. So let's just leave it at that, man, and move forward and understand that we all want people, and the problem is separation and arguments like about who is this and who is that instead of putting together moves to make each other bigger and better in every way. You know what I'm saying? Try to tear each other down instead of build each other up, and that's the big problem. Who cares if you Hebrew? I don't give a fuck about your what you believe or how you feel. We all figured that out when Yahushua come back. But right now, shit, we all still gotta live on this crazy ass earth and this crazy ass shit going on. So at the end of the day, y'all arguing back and forth, and it's clear as day that the Canaanite people, the Sea people, the Egyptians, them all the same motherfuckers. It's that simple. Yeah, they had beef between each other, but they all brethren. It's that simple. Isaac was a fucking Canaanite.
the devil, but they got white people in the Nation of Islam. It don't make no sense to me. How did Spaniards and white people, okay, and Chinese people conquer Hebrews, but yet today they're on the corner
I have no fucking clue.
dressed up as Hebrews? That doesn't make sense. And so even when a Hebrew say a Hebrew is not an African, the
And I say Hebrews are African, Canaanite to be exact.
founder of the Hebrew movement in America is from Nigeria.
Correct. The Horn of Africa, the same areas. It's all right there in your face if you look it up. It's all right there.
He's an African. So even when y'all say y'all not African, the founder is from
When some of they dumbass say they not African, Pharaoh.
Nigeria. He's an African. He even identified as an African. And so I just want people to see the void. Let me see how much time I got.
That's the problem with you camps, man, pushing this crazy shit, man. Y'all don't even want to admit to being Canaanites. Like, it's to the point where I feel like y'all hate y'all heritage. Y'all say, oh, we love our heritage too much. We love our... All y'all like is Jacob. Y'all give a fuck about Isaac. Like, Jacob, our father Jacob, our father Jacob. Come on, man. Get y'all shit together, Israel. Man, shit ain't fucking rocket science, man. Sitting up here arguing this dumbass shit.
I got 20 seconds left. I want people to see not only the voids and the holes in the story, but the high levels of contradiction. And so I'm going to end on this. Exodus 1, chapter 11 says that the Hebrews were enslaved and forced to build the city of Ramesses. The city of Ramesses was here a minimum of 30,000 years before the alleged date that story takes place, which means the Hebrews could have never. I'm done. That's my time.
Now, I don't know, man. Like your story is like really conflicted. Like if that's what you believe, that's what you believe. Like, I mean, I don't know what to tell you. I explained how the Hebrews were enslaved by Egyptians, but you just keep going around it with your own theories and however you want to look at it. I explained that the Phoenicians were Hebrews. Period. Like, yes, they're interracial rape. That's how you create a Mexican. That's how you create any other breed. That's how you create a Creole. That's how you create a Filipino through
From a Phoenician,
interracial
that
rape.
doesn't make sense, bro.
What about it doesn't make no sense?
Wasn't no Mexicans over there in the Middle East or in Northeast Africa.
Correct.
No, they was called East. They was Eastern Char. They was pre Aztecs and pre Mayans. That was pre. That's where those war tactics came from. All this shit traces back.
Dumbass fucking not.
Yeah, pretty much. Basically, so you pretty much tell me that you don't believe in the transatlantic slave trade thing. With Mali Musa, it's facts that the Mali Empire traded Hebrew slaves in the Congo. That is a fact, bro. I don't understand what part that you don't understand. Like,
this is my point. You're telling me how something happened, and I'm telling you that how could that have happened if it's impossible?
You saying it's a white man? You're studying the part when a white man translated our shit into their shit. Like you said, yes, hieroglyphics wasn't formulated sentences. It was a
if you subscribe to Hebrew, being a Hebrew, then Hebrews have nothing to do with hieroglyphics.
What I'm telling you, it was the same concept.
Did this nigga just say that lie, Pharaoh? See, this the problem with people, man. People love to lie, man. People love to lie just to fit their agenda. Okay, I just showed y'all this clear as day. That Hebrew, trace Hebrew all the way back to the beginning. You get what? You get what? Ancient hieroglyphs. You see that? When you touch Paleo Hebrew back, you go right to where the parent system. Egyptian hieroglyphics. So Pharaoh, shut your lying ass up, boy. You lying ass little boy.
As the Paleo Hebrew alphabet, it's a compilation of frequencies that carry information.
You know that the Paleo Hebrew alphabet is considered an Indo-European alphabet?
Oh shit! Did you just hear that lying ass nigga? You just hear this nigga? Didn't I just show y'all this shit? This nigga crazy. Ain't these all part of the what? What? These are all all part of what? The same language group, man. I don't know why I got time for your lying ass. What? You can go to sleep. Ain't you supposed to be in bed? supposed to be in bed. Okay, there we go. Here we go. What I tell y'all? It's what? Afro-Asiatic. Okay? This niggas is foolish, man. Foolishness. What? Wow.
It's considered
Yeah,
Europe.
You
You know
always
that, right?
asking for
because
something
at
to
the
eat.
You know that, right?
time
You
Black
know what
Hebrews were
time it
Europe.
is?
At the
No,
Just
time
to
Black
eat
Hebrews were
dinner.
you're just focusing
What
when
you
you hear
eat?
Europe and Greek,
Rice
your
and
mind
roast
automatically says,
and
"Oh, white
greens.
people." And you don't even look at the Black history inside of Europe to understand where these words and where this shit coming from. You just say, "Oh,
Damn,
that's white
sister.
man shit.
You
I
gotta
ain't
go to the
fucking with it." No,
bathroom.
it don't work like that, bro.
no,
You
I'm fully
confusing these
aware of
people. I
that.
came on this shit to get truth upon. I explained to you how the Egyptians were enslaved by the Phoenicians, and you going around what I just said to try to validate a point that you have no valid information for. You saying that, oh, Hebrew is a white man's language. How is Hebrew
I'm
a
at
white
this
man's language,
state.
bro? They translated
This is
our shit
dumb.
down to they.
And at the end of the day, I showed y'all what I need to show y'all. I could show y'all some more people's, but y'all know, man. This shit is just Amsterdam, man. As my nigga Gorilla Hebrew would say. It's just crazy, man. It's just madness. It y'all be up, man. Much respect to both these brothers for doing their thing, at least coming forward with the knowledge, teaching y'all something. But it's up to the people to go through and look and figure it out on your own. Y'all can't let these people guide y'all. Y'all, they can show y'all, but y'all gotta do the movements.